This contagion has spread to the third and fourth largest economies in Europe, Italy and Spain, both of whom have very serious fiscal issues and unsustainable debt trajectories. So those concerns, I think, are legitimate. By inference, a lot of the other more highly rated European banking systems are exposed to the Greeces, the Italys, the Spains, and the Portugals. So there is some risk there. But I think countries like France and the Netherlands, their spreads are widening out a little bit, but I think it's highly unlikely that they will get into the same type of difficulty that we see elsewhere in Europe.
But how about the rising bond yields across the Eurozone, barring Germany? How do you read that? Some say that's an indication the debt crisis is in a dangerous phase.
The crisis isn't in a dangerous phase. But I think this widening is simply an assessment of a higher risk for the entire European monetary union. And if there is some type of a breakup, and I do not think there will be, but I think if investors are beginning to get concerned over that possibility, then spreads on all paper relative to the riskless asset in the region, the German Bund, will widen, and I think we're seeing that right now.
So, Steve, given what you have just said about Europe, should we have some exposure in the region?
Well, Europe is certainly too big for large global investors to not have any exposure. I'm certain that many investors are in the process of reducing their exposure, but it's not like you can just turn the switch off and on. And there'll come a time when savvy investors will believe that some of this carnage has gone too far, and they'll begin to inch back in. And my suspicion is at some point they'll be buying European paper at fairly good value.
Taking a look at Asia, the Asian Development Bank has said that it will cut its projection for Asian growth. The governments here themselves have cut their own forecasts. They've also either cut rates or kept them on hold. Is there a risk the governments here may be overdoing monetary easing?
Look, every major economy in Asia right now is going through a deceleration in export growth in response to this problem in Europe. I think the only one I looked at the other day where there's really not a sign of major deterioration is Indonesia. Europe is either the largest or the second largest trading partner for export-led economies in Asia. So there certainly is legitimate risk that you'll see slower growth. Barring a total disintegration of the Eurozone, though, I think the deceleration is likely to be contained and relatively modest, which would be very different than what we saw 3 years ago when global trade collapsed in the face of this wrenching subprime crisis. Asian governments are pretty much going on hold here. There's no aggressive easing that has occurred yet. If anything, their economies were growing too rapidly going into this crisis, so they're taking advantage of the slowing that's occurring because of faltering exports to just keep their policies on hold.